Inravio.com.
Hello again, everybody. This is Joe Larson, and you're watching the 505 on Racing Show live from New York. We have our third segment of the Where Are They Now? And some interesting bits of information I was able to find out on one of them, which I was unaware of. But anyway, we're going to start with Herb Thomas. Herb Thomas, he was the 1951 Grand National Champion out of a small town in Olivia, North Carolina. A farmer by trade, he also worked in the local sawmill to earn extra money. He was born on April 6, 1923. He was in NASCAR's first event in 1949, as well as 3 additional events that first season. In 1950, Thomas started in 13 events with a win at the Old Martinsville Speedway in Virginia. Starting in 1951, driving a Plymouth, switching to the fabulous Hudson Hornet at the suggestion of a good friend, Marshall Teague. He had 6 wins in 51. The first came in the Southern 500. In 1952, Thomas won 8 races. In 53, Thomas dominated, winning 12 races en route to becoming NASCAR's first 2-time champion. And he lost the championship to a more consistent Lee Petty in between those years. In 1955, Thomas switched to Chevrolets, but crashed heavily while driving a Buick, the only race he drove a Buick in, causing him to miss 3 months of action. In 56, Thomas abandoned being an owner-driver. He was an owner-driver, which many of the drivers are back in those days. And he won a race early in the season, and he decided that I can't do this anymore. He was sought out and he drove for Smokey Yunick, then left Yunick to drive for Carl Kiefenhofer. And I'm sure you've seen some of his cars out there with the big 300s and the 301 on the side panels. Thomas eventually returned to his driver-owner status and clinched second in the points behind Lee Petty, and then again was severely injured at a race at Shelby, North Carolina. This wreck ultimately ended his career, although he had 2 starts in 1957 and 1 in 1962. Thomas ended up with 48 victories, winning over 21% of the races he entered. He was inducted into the International Motorsports Hall of Fame in 1994 and named one of NASCAR's top 50 of the greatest drivers in 1998. Thomas was inducted into the Motorsports Hall of Fame of America in 2017. Thomas passed away August 9, 2000 in Sanford, North Carolina, suffering from the ill effects of a heart attack. Herb Thomas, one of the pioneers in our sport, made it happen, raced the beach course, raced all over the Southeast, and one of NASCAR's champions. Our next entry into Where Are They Now? Mike Magic Shoes McLaughlin. In 1988, NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour champion by 6 points over the Reggie Ruggiero. He was born October 6, 1956 in Waterloo, New York, upstate, and ran his first race at the Maple Grove Speedway in upstate New York at the age of 20, driving dirt modifieds. Living only blocks away from the Speedway, McLaughlin drove his race car from his home to the track according to his mother. McLaughlin made his Busch Series debut, which is now the Xfinity Series, and he made his first start there in 1984 at the Charlotte Motor Speedway in North Carolina and finished 14th. He ran one more race that year at Charlotte in the October event. In 1985, McLaughlin competed in only 2 events in the Busch Series and then moved to the Modified Tour, which was known as the Winston Modified Tour. And he got a ride in a car owned by Bill Carrazzo. His crew chief, somebody you may have heard of, Greg Zipadelli, who would eventually win Monster Energy NASCAR Cup titles as a crew chief and was the crew chief for Tony Stewart. McLaughlin won the 1988 title on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, and at the time was known as the Winston Modified Tour with 6 wins. McLaughlin also drove in the Busch North Series, now known as the K&N Pro Series East, finishing 3rd in the points in 1993. He became the first driver to ever win both ends of a modified Busch North doubleheader at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. And in 1990, McLaughlin found himself returning to the Busch Series for 6 events. He had 2 top 5s in those 6 events. In 1991, he ran 8 events in the Busch Series with very little success. Part-time Busch driver in 92 and 93, then full-time again in 94 with 3 top 5s and a 13th in points that year. He also ran 2 cup races at New Hampshire and the other at the Watkins Glen Road Course in upstate New York. First Busch win came in 1995 at Dover. That year, McLaughlin had 13 top 10s and finished 3rd in the points. 1996, he was winless. 97, winning twice and named most popular driver with 2 victories in 98 and a 3rd in the points series. In 1999, he had another winless year, and McLaughlin stepped away from his team that season and moved to another team. In 2000, after struggling to be competitive, McLaughlin jumped ship, heading in 2001 to drive for Joe Gibbs Racing. McLaughlin won for Gibbs at Talladega and also found McLaughlin as Tony Stewart's backup driver for the Coca-Cola 600 due to Tony Stewart's obligations to run the Indy 500 on the same day. In the event Stewart did not get back in time for the 600, McLaughlin was to start the event. Tony Stewart arrived just before they said, "Gentlemen, start your engines." McLaughlin lost his ride at Joe Gibbs Racing to a gentleman named Coy Gibbs, the son of Joe Gibbs. McLaughlin then became a test driver and development driver coach for Joe Gibbs Racing and opened his own fabrication business. In 2009, McLaughlin started building bobsleds for the Bodine Bobsled Project, supplying bobsleds for the United States Olympic team. McLaughlin had 2 Cup starts, 314 Xfinity starts with 6 wins, 2 Camping World Truck Series starts with 1 top 5, 51 K&N Pro Series starts, 7 wins, 30 top 10s, and 172 modified starts with 16 wins, 83 top 5s. Mike McLaughlin, Magic Shoes, he's driven everything that has wheels in the motor, as you saw from the pictures we were showing in the background. And if you guys and gals out there and listening and watching, if you have any driver that you would like me to look up or talk about or add to our Where Are They Now series, whether it's NASCAR, Dirt, Formula One, Indy, anything, let me know, and we'll do our best to get it in our off-season Where Are They Now. So that's the 2 for this week. Next week we have a couple more planned. It's going to be really, really nice. Now, racetracks. We all talk about racetracks closing and the rumors, and people are saying, I wish the place would just close, and then when they close, you sit there and you have tears in your eyes. Because rumors of weekly tracks closing have become the norm over the past few years. In every off season, the track's closing, the track's closing. My own local racetrack that I've been going to probably for 40 years, probably 38 of those years I heard that the track was closing, a box store was taken over, a trailer park was going there. But however, Motor Mile Speedway in Dublin, Virginia will not operate as a weekly track in 2018. Track General Manager Michelle Vaught confirmed they will not open the program in 2018, and the decision to not operate is based purely on economics. They were losing money every year, and the track owner, David Hagan, was pouring his own personal money into the facility to keep it going. Motor Mile Speedway was known to pay the highest purses in the country for a weekly track. And now, you know, when you look at racetracks across the country and the business that they are, when you look at these tracks, and everybody says, well, if there was a bigger purse, more cars would come. Unfortunately, this track paid the biggest purses in the country, not only for its FISA division, but the support divisions as well, and more cars didn't come. You can only pay so much. And you know, you go to their website, you go to see the people bashing and all these suggestions by what I call fence grabbers, who are working men and women, and there's nothing wrong with that, who've never run a business and definitely never ran a racetrack. There's more to running a racetrack than showing up on race day, putting the key in the gate and opening the gates and opening the doors. There's more to it. There's insurance, there's taxes, you gotta pay your people, the upkeep and maintenance of a racetrack. And this track did everything it could in its mind and its opinion to make it better. Hey, you know, we're gonna listen to you as drivers. We're gonna pay the best purses in the country. And you know, the old build it and they will come. Well, it was built and they were coming, but not enough to make it sustain. And that's what happens. You know, racing is a business. Everybody thinks with sponsors and racetrack owners, they're just a bunch of rich people that want to get rid of money and, you know, oh, I'm going to sponsor this guy because I have money. No, we've talked about that on this show many, many times. There needs to be a return on that sponsorship investment. And a racetrack operator, sometimes that's the only business they have. And they need to make their money in that short window of time from, we'll say, April through September. October through March, there's no income. There's still expenses, there's still taxes, insurance, and everything else that goes with running any kind of business. So when they're not making money and the owner is continuously reaching in his pocket, going to the bank, writing checks to cover expenses, cost, purse, whatever, eventually that guy's accountant is going to say, you need to shut it down. You got to stop the bleeding. And that's what happened to Motor Mile, a very popular racetrack, around a long time. And it's sad that they lost out. They lost out to the economy. Maybe it was poor business planning, poor decisions. Maybe it was not getting support of the race teams that were given just about everything they asked for. Think about that the next time you want to bash your weekly racetrack. Think about when it's not there. Think about it. Think about what it takes to run a racetrack. When we come back, we're going to talk about Ryan Preece and his Xfinity announcement, and also the little slight discussion that Ryan Preece and Elliott Sadler had at the end of the race at Homestead, Miami, when we come back.
Hey, I was going to say what's up for some reason. Hey, we're Set It Up, and you're watching the Inravio TV network.
Village Music Shop of Mastic. 1-800-HEY-DUDE, your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop, 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Hi there, this is Buddy from Less Than Jake, and you are listening to Inravio TV. You're probably watching it too.
Hey, there we go. All righty. Sorry about that, folks. Mic went out. Anyway, welcome back. The chat room kind of quiet today, so I'm sure we have a lot of people watching without being in the chat room, in which they are. But anyway, Ryan Preece, former NASCAR wheel and modified standout who drove for Eddie and Connie Partridge for a while and also ran SKs throughout New England. Ryan Preece will make 10 starts for Joe Gibbs Racing's Xfinity team in 2018. Preece will be sharing the ride with Monster Energy Cup Series drivers Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Eric Jones, and Daniel Suarez. At Miami, Elliott Sadler, battling for the championship, one of the four. Ended up with an 8th place finish in that event with a shot to win. He was running second with 2 or 3 laps to go. And I don't know if he knew it, but a tire went down. I was watching the event. There was smoke coming out of the right rear. And he was running up high because, you don't have air in that right rear. It wants to go up there. And Ryan Preece, who was running the Joe Gibbs car, was just trying to hold on and have a good finish for Joe Gibbs Racing because the owner points are kicking in, similar to the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour, where Eddie Partridge's team finished second in the points, but he was the owner's champion. Well, that's what Ryan Preece was running for Joe Gibbs, owner points, to get a good finish in the points. However, post-race, they do a cool-down lap, they come down pit road, and Elliott Sadler pulls in behind Preece. Taps the car, he starts screaming and yelling, and Ryan gets out and the officials get between them. And here we have a picture of it. All Ryan said to him was, I was just running for position. And Sadler felt that Ryan Preece cost him the championship. Now, I'm going to be honest. I like Elliott Sadler. I've met him. I played golf with him. He's a fun-loving type of guy. But and similar to the Monster Cup Energy champion, it's like you could taste it, you could feel it, and you don't know when you're going to be in this situation again, and your emotions are running high. Elliott Sadler, in published reports, said that Ryan Preece cost him the championship, and Ryan Preece was out there running for nothing. Now, I don't know, Elliott, I got to disagree with you on there. Ryan Preece, as a race car driver, your job is to finish the best you can with the equipment that you have. And not only was Ryan Preece given that ride to race the car, Ryan Preece was given that ride to get owner points for the owner. So Ryan Preece did have something at stake in that race, and Elliott Sadler is wrong to blame Ryan Preece for his failure, for Elliott Sadler's failure to win the Xfinity Championship. And I've always said that Elliott Sadler is the best driver that is not in the Monster Cup Energy Series. Elliott Sadler could win just about anywhere. Yeah, back in his Cup days, he wasn't one of the top running guys, and I really think, looking back, that was equipment. Elliott Sadler, the car that he's running now, is one of the teams to beat every year, which proves so that he was one of the championship finalists going into Homestead. You know, a lot of people lost a lot of respect for Elliott for his actions in that event. And if you watched the race and you saw the in-car camera when he pulled up behind and gave Ryan a little tap, which is not the place to do that, because at that point you think you're good to go and you're unbuckled, the helmet's off, and to give somebody a shot, it's tight in those cars. So a bump like that, you can put your nose into the steering column, you could put your mouth into the column, a lot could happen. And I don't know if anything's going to be brought about it for Elliott Sadler for his actions. That'll be assessed in 2018, and I kind of hope not. I hope the powers to be realize that that was just passion, similar to what happened, you know, with Chase Elliott and Denny Hamlin. It's just passion. And for those of you who've never raced a race car, never worked endless hours as a crew member, putting a race car on a racetrack, and all of a sudden you're up here and a lead balloon ends up in your ship, and it all comes crashing, and you didn't get what you had hoped to get. The emotions are, I can't describe it, and I know I've had those types of emotions more times than I care to remember, not only as a driver, not only as a crew chief or a crew member, but also as a car owner. And you know, you work endless hours and sacrifice a lot of stuff to be put in a position to go racing. And you know, a lot of people were trash talking Elliott Sadler on social media. And you know what? Yeah, you don't agree with what he did, and you know, you could make up stuff. And as one journalist put it, you know, Elliott Sadler was mad at the imaginary car that he hit imaginarily, and he needed to blame somebody. And think about it, folks. You have a shot at a championship, which pays a lot of money, and it just fell away. I don't know if anybody told him from the spotter stand or from the pit box, you got a tire going down, and that's why you're going all over the place, and that's why maybe you're going to touch somebody. You know, he ended up finishing 8th, very disappointed, especially, you know, you're running second with 2 or 3 laps to go. Ryan Preece was running 5th, so Ryan didn't do anything bad. He did what he was hired to do, and that's why Ryan Preece is getting 10 starts in 2018, because he's a race car driver, and he races the race car. The first couple of starts he had in Xfinity, he did not just ride around, he raced. And he picked up a win, and you get a win by racing, by beating every other car that's out there. Ryan Preece is going to beat a lot of cars next year, and Ryan Preece is going to be a guy that's going to move up into the Cup Series more sooner than most people think. I remember when Ryan Preece came into the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour as a driver. After running SKs, I heard a lot about him. I was really excited as an official to watch this kid race. And when I watched him go toe-to-toe with former champion Todd Szegedy 1 year at Stafford, and with Szegedy was just, and Todd Szegedy is one of the best modified drivers that I've seen in the last 15 years, was mirror driving. I mean, there's no question about it. Wasn't letting him get anywhere. And Ryan gave him a little tap going in, and Szegedy got a little loose and went all the way around. And when Ryan Preece pulled into victory lane that night, the tower made a call down that he's not the winner. They're going to put him to the back for aggressive driving. And when he drove into the pit area, down in the pit road, and parked, I went over to Ryan and I said, just sit here for a second and calm down and relax. And he just was staring at the intensity, just staring, like Superman would stare at something and melt metal. he was just staring. And as he started to breathe again, I put my hand on his chest. I said, Ryan, you're going to go places in racing. Don't let this night spoil you. And as one old race driver said to me, sometimes you got to lose one before you win one. And I said that to him. I said, sometimes you got to lose one before you win one. And, you know, here we are, you know, how many years later, and he's got a ride the Xfinity Series. So, you know, good luck to Ryan in 2018 with this Xfinity ride. And don't be surprised to see him maybe in a cup race or two towards the end of the season. You know, or maybe even as a substitute driver, or God forbid, a driver's injured and needs somebody to fill in, or a driver, you know, is not up to par that day, but he's going to start the race for the points, and Ryan's going to finish it for him. Don't be surprised if that doesn't happen. So again, good luck to Ryan Preece and Elliott Sadler. It's a shame. I think this is the 4th time that you've finished second in the points, and hopefully that championship will come. But I'm still going to say this: Elliott Sadler is the best Cup driver that's not racing in Cup. And his day is going to come, even though he's a little bit older than a lot of these kids coming into the Xfinity. Elliott Sadler is going to have his day again. Trust me when I say that. I'm not usually wrong when I say things like that, because I like to come back and say, you know, hello, this is what happened. You should have listened, but I'm thinking that's where we're headed. I really do. Anyway, Miami Homestead, nice place to go, nice place to race, and they do a nice job. My only question is, and I saw this too on social media, you know, we start the season in the Cup Series in the largest venue, supposedly Daytona. Why not end it there? Now, I know traditionally they always ran what they called the Firecracker 400 on the 4th of July. Now it's the weekend before, after the 4th of July. Why not, which is, it's hot in Daytona in July, why not move that event to Daytona? Miami Homestead Speedway, Homestead Miami, there's problems there. That track, for those who don't know, there was a hurricane years ago that destroyed that whole area. And NASCAR went in and they put a racetrack there. The problem is the draw. If you saw that, there weren't a lot of people there. Now, considering this was the World Series of racing, where you have 4 drivers in each of the series vying for a championship, why have it in an area that can't support that racetrack? You know, and some people are saying, oh, maybe a month or so before they should pick a track. You can't do that for logistic reasons and scheduling. But why not schedule that? Start in Daytona, end in Daytona. That would be awesome. The weather is nice in North Florida in October. It's cool, it's not cold. The chance of rain is almost nil. Not that Southern Florida isn't just as good, but why not do that? If you're going to have 2 events at Daytona, have one in the first race, because that's the big one, and have the last one there as well. Just my opinion, and obviously the opinion of many people in social media today. Why are we going to Homestead? Some people said, why not go to Atlanta? And we're going to talk about that when we come back. Atlanta Motor Speedway down in Georgia, and they ran a big race there 25 years ago this week. And when we come back, that's what we're going to talk about. Atlanta Motor Speedway when we come back.
Hi, I'm Remington.
I'm Emerson.
And I'm Sebastian.
We're Palais Royale, and you're watching Inravio TV.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
Hey, this is Chris Less Jake, and if Inravio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
Village Music Shop of Mastic. 1-800-HEY-DUDE. Your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop. 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Hi, this is Mike Jarecki from My Race News, and you're watching the Inravio TV network.
Welcome back, everybody. Atlanta Motor Speedway, 25 years ago, found Richard Petty driving in his last Cup race. It was a very emotional day for the King. He did the 1992, as they called it, the Appreciation Tour. And unfortunately, he was in a wild wreck. They put the car back together, and here's a picture. This is Richard Petty waving to the fans. They put the car back together so it could at least drive, so Richard Petty could say goodbye to his fans. So long for now, so to speak. And I'll tell you what, I remember watching that race. God, no, my girls, the twins, were only like 6 months old, and they decided to take a nap like towards the end of that race, so I could watch his last race. And I taped it way back then on the old VHS tapes, and I watched that. And when Richard Petty wrecked out, when he crashed out, the whole nose of the car was on fire. They got it back together, like I said, and he said so long to everybody. But a little known fact, and I saw this being debated on social media all week, was that a new guy was coming into the sport. A new guy's name was Jeff Gordon. And Jeff Gordon, we have a picture we're going to show in a sec. He looked like a little kid. Look at this guy. He's a little kid in that picture. That was 25 years ago. And although he didn't have the finish that he had hoped for to write a storybook about, Jeff Gordon, I believe, finished 24th in that event that year. And when you look at Jeff Gordon then, he's changed. I mean, we've all changed in 25 years. But he still has that in that picture, that shy, impish look that he had when he first walked in. And in '93, he showed the people he was a race car driver. And DuPont, his sponsor, it was on his uniform, stayed with him for most of his career. And because of the colors of the car, they were the Rainbow Warriors. And you look back in those days and you're like, who knew? Who would have thought? Just like with Homestead, there was two people that it was their last event. We're going to talk about that. What newcomers are coming along? But also on that same day, Alan Kawicki. Alan Kawicki went out and became the champion, an underdog. And he drove a Ford Thunderbird car, and on the nose panel, on the valance, where it had to say the car make, it had to say Thunderbird or Ford or something. He sought permission from NASCAR to call it the Underbird because he was the underdog. Not only was he not expected to win the championship, he wasn't expected to even be competitive that year. Pretty much an independent guy, he made it happen. Unfortunately, 4 months later, he lost his life, and we never got to see the full potential of Alan Kawicki. Alan Kawicki, back in those days, could have found a ride with one of the top teams and had the top R&D people, the top engines, the top cars and fabricators. Who knows where his career would have gone if he didn't lose his life 4 months later. And that made that day even more special. To see a guy like Alan Kawicki win back then what was called the Winston Cup. You know, you look back and there's moments. I look back at moments when I think about racing. I think about the first time I saw Richard Petty race in 1967 at Icer Speedway on Long Island. My first time that I saw a fight between guys I see on TV with Bobby Allison and Richard Petty and Maurice Petty and Bobby Allison's crew, I was like, I was hooked. You know, I was hooked. I was like 9 years old. And, you know, and my dad, I've said this a million times, he wasn't one to bring me to the racetrack. He hated racing. He hated when the rare occasions where Wide World of Sports on ABC would have the highlights from the race. They'd have the beginning, they'd have some wrecks, and they've had the end. You know, in 45 minutes, they might have shown a half hour. I guess it was an hour and a half show. They would show a half hour of racing, and I was hooked. In '79, the first live TV flag to flag, it was a moment. I remember that. It was a snowstorm. I had all these people at my house watching this event, and it started at noon. I was like, wow. And those are the moments that you remember. You know, and they weren't always good moments that are stuck in my brain. And we all know there's some sad moments in our sport. But, you know, when you look back and you see in your mind the moments, and that's to me back in '92 when I was like, this sport's for real. This sport's going to go places. This sport needs to get a little more TV coverage. This sport eventually is going to pay these guys millions of dollars to race cars. It wasn't doing that in the 50s at all. These guys had to run 50 races a year, and what they won was only to help pay the bills on the car for the next run. In the 60s, it wasn't that good either until Richard Petty brought big corporate sponsors into the mix with STP. And when he did that, you know, he had the best of everything. And all the other teams caught up and even passed Richard Petty. You know, and that's why Richard Petty Motorsports has struggled over the last few years, you know, with winning races and being up front in the top 5, top 10 every week. But it's those moments, you know, the late 60s with STP and Mario Andretti and Richard Petty. They were on commercials for the product. And Andy Granatelli, who can forget Andy Granatelli? I bet you that's a name that just starts ringing bells in your head. You know, when you go back to those days, it's like, wow, those are the moments. And yesterday's moments, it's kind of weird because Dale Earnhardt Jr., he had his final start in the Cup Series, and I remember when he first came on board. I remember seeing him in the lowest series and his dad supporting him, you know, Dale Sr. I remember after Dale Sr. lost his life in Daytona in February, and the July race, you know, Junior went out and won that race. And the emotion that was just, you know, you couldn't believe it. It's the moments. It's the moments. And prior to the start of this race in Miami, Dale Jr. went down pit road, and just like, and it gave me chills watching it, just like when Dale Sr. won his first Daytona 500 after so many times just missing out, they lined up on pit road and everybody shook his hand or gave him a high five. And it was amazing. Like I said, it gave me the chills doing that. And although JR's 25th place finish, 2 laps down, it didn't matter that day. He was saying so long to the Cup Series. And after the race, you know, Dale Jr., he traded his helmet to Rick Helmet for the race car, which he said that's what he was going to do. Now, I think Junior got the best of that deal. But it wasn't about the cost of the car and the cost of the helmet. Rick Hendrick wanted to put that in his collection because Rick Hendrick has had some of the best driving, and Dale Jr. was one of those guys, and he wants that helmet in his trophy case. And Junior wants that car for the rest of his life. And it's funny that during the cool-down lap, I'm watching Dale drive up to catch up to Truex, Martin Truex, who won the race. Dale bumped him on, you know, he did one of these. And I was like, what the heck is that all about? And then it was reported that he did that because he knew he was keeping the car and he wanted a piece of Martin Truex's car, albeit paint, on the car he was going to keep as a remembrance of Truex's championship. And that's what this sport is all about, folks. It's about, here's an icon, and here's a first-time champion, and the icon wants a piece of that guy's paint. He wants donut marks and paint on his car to remember that day. Now, Dale's going to drive some select Xfinity races in 2018, and he will still stay on as co-owner of JR Motorsports with his sister Kelly and Rick Hendrick as well. Now, as we say farewell to Dale Earnhardt Jr., who I'm like, I remember when he started. JR leaves, or Jr. leaves the Cup Series with 26 wins. He's a two-time Xfinity champion and 14 times voted most popular driver. He's going to be missed. He's definitely going to be missed. Now, on the other hand, you know, there was something that kind of was disappointing to me. Now, we all know this was Dana Patrick's last race. I know she did the press conference over the weekend that her plan is to run the Daytona 500 and the Indy 500 in 2018, and I hope she can get a ride. It's not etched in stone yet, but she's trying to make that happen. There are some people who are working with her to make that happen, and it looks like her IndyCar ride is going to be a definite. It's still up in the air about the Cup ride, but she went out in a blaze of glory. And I'll tell you what, a lot of people went on and talked about how she's no good, how she's horrible, how she's this, how she's that, and she shouldn't have been there. Let me tell you something, folks. She deserved to be in there because she earned her way into there. She wasn't a back marker. She wasn't a front runner, but she wasn't a back marker either. And when she made the move from Indy cars to stock cars, there's a weight to horsepower ratio that's totally different. And it took her a while to learn how to muscle these cars around. And she's had some sponsor issues. We all know that because sponsors want what they want. So Danica's going to move on. It was her last event, and they handled that well, TV. What was not handled well was Matt Kenseth. Matt Kenseth came on board the same year Dale Earnhardt Jr. did. And yeah, the racetrack did some stuff prior to the race and took some pictures, you know, and Dale and Matt are friends off the racetrack. But Matt Kenseth was like, the race ended, he pulled into the hauler area, the garage area, went home. Now, maybe I missed something. I don't think I did. But he ran a throwback color scheme. He won last week. He still could get it done, but I guess because he's not an Earnhardt or a Petty or part of the Hendrick group, he kind of just faded away. Now, he's well off, Matt Kenseth. Don't get me wrong. He's not like he's out of work and he's going to be standing on street corners, you know, with a sign, you know, we'll work for food. He's in very good shape. He invested well, and he'll be fine. But I'm just disappointed in the way the media, TV, and NASCAR handled his departure. And it's not right. It's just not right. And I wish everybody the best. You know, Danica, I hope she finds what she's looking for, and whether it's racing or in her other interests that she does. Dale Earnhardt Jr., he's not leaving the sport. He's still involved as a team owner. He's going to play with his Xfinity cars from time to time. And but Kenseth, you know, you brought a lot of joy to a lot of people. So thank you, Matt Kenseth. I know you probably won't see this, but I want to thank you for being the sportsman that you are and the competitor that you were. And we all move on. It's the change of the guard. And you know, somebody I saw on social media that when you have Dale Jr. and Matt Kenseth, that the only drivers left that drove in the last century is Kurt Busch. Think about that. Think about that. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, this is Jibs from Ocean's 8, Alaska, and you're watching Inravio TV Network.
Hey, I'm Raoul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Rich Weller. We're some of the proto-men. If we see you without this bracelet, then you'll punch in the But if you have this bracelet from Inravio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
What's up, guys? This is Assuming We Survive, and you're watching Inravio TV Network.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Champion, Martin Truex, a kid from up north that cut his teeth in just about every division that his weekly racetrack had when he was young, and that's the World Township Speedway in New Jersey. Martin Truex, champion. And I'll tell you what, this guy, you know, everybody has stuff, and I'm going to call it stuff. This guy, you know, he's fighting a battle, and you know, his girlfriend, his wife, I should say, has cancer, and she's battling cancer, and their motto is never give up. And all year long, that was his motto: never get up. And his goal was, I need to get into the next stage of the playoffs. I need to get in the next stage, and he knew when he made it to the Final Four that he was going to go out and make it happen. Martin Truex, 2017 Monster Energy Cup NASCAR Series champ, and I congratulate him. And his team owner was unable to attend this event. The Furniture Row team owner and 2017 Monster Energy Cup champion owner, Barney Visser, suffered a heart attack on November 4th and underwent successful bypass surgery. Barney was not at Homestead for the championship celebration. In fact, his doctors advised him, do not watch this race. We need you to be calm. So he did what the doctor said. He didn't watch it, but he was on his phone the entire race with the members of the crew getting updates. And I'm sure if they would have checked his vitals and his stats those last 5 or 6 laps, I'm sure that everything was going. So congratulations to Barney Visser and to Martin Truex Jr. on the championship in the top racing series that we all know, and that's NASCAR. And there's more to come for this guy too, Martin Truex. Anyway, Homestead results, here we go. As we know, Martin Truex was the winner there, followed by Kyle Busch. And we're going to talk about what he said after the end of the race. Kyle Larson was third. Kevin Harvick was fourth. Chase Elliott was fifth. Joey Logano sixth. Brad Keselowski was seventh. Matt Kenseth eighth. Denny Hamlin ninth. And Ryan Newman rounded out the top 10. When reporters went to Kyle Busch to get his reaction, just missing out, he blamed the 22. The 22 didn't get in my way. We'd have a different conversation right now. And he was just standing there with this look. And he's an intense guy. And with him, second is the best loser. And there's no better guy to push that statement. And the announcers tried to make it nice. So whoever was announcing him said, you know, second place, not bad. And he went, I guess. And he just stared him down, and they cut to something else. So the final standings in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series look like this. As we all know, Martin Truex Jr. was the champion. Kyle Busch second in the points. Kevin Harvick third. Brian Keselowski, 4th. Chase Elliott, man, top 5 in the points. Denny Hamlin, 6th. Matt Kenseth, 7th. Kyle Larson, 8th. Ryan Blaney was 9th. And Jimmy Johnson rounding out the top 10 in that series. And it's a long season. It's over. Now it's get ready for next year. The Xfinity Series was also in the same with their playoff. Cole Custer was the winner there, followed by Sam Hornish. William Byron was 3rd. Tyler Reddick, 4th. Ryan Preece, a top 5 there. Brennan Poole, 6th. Matt Tifft, 2nd. Elliott Sadler, 8th. Michael Annett, 9th. And Ty Majeski rounding out the top 10. The final Xfinity points look like this. William Byron is the points leader, followed by Elliott Sadler. Justin Allgaier, 3rd in points. Daniel Hemrick was 4th. Cole Custer, 5th. Brennan Poole, 6th. Matt Tifft, 7th. Ryan Reed, 8th. Michael Annett, 9th. And Brendan Gaughan rounding out the top 10. The top rookie in the Xfinity Series for 2017 is William Byron. And the top rookie for the Sprint Cup Series, no, I had that. I think. I didn't. Eric Jones. Eric Jones in the Cup Series. So congratulations to William Byron on his championship in the Xfinity Series. In the Camping World Truck Series, we have Chase Briscoe was the winner there, followed by Christopher Bell. Johnny Sauter was 3rd. Ryan Truex, 4th. Austin Cindric, 5th. Matt Crafton was 6th. Stuart Friesen was 7th. Grant Enfinger finished 8th. Justin Haley, 9th. And Timothy Peters rounding out the top 10 in that series. The final point standings there are Christopher Bell, as we know, is the champion. Johnny Sauter, 2nd. Austin Cindric is 3rd. Matt Crafton, 4th. Ben Rhodes, 5th in the points. Chase Briscoe was 6th. Kaz Grala, 7th. John Hunter Nemechek, 8th. Ryan Truex, 9th. And Noah Gragson rounding out the top 10. The top rookie in the points in the Camping World Truck Series is Austin Cindric. And that's how it went at Miami. That's how it went. And, you know, we have some things coming up, and when I say we, there's some a couple of races still left. And Wall Township Speedway has their annual Turkey Derby, which is equivalent, in my opinion, to the World Series at the Thompson Motorsport Park in Connecticut. And they're calling for some cold, bad weather, but that's why it's a Turkey Derby. And you look at all the people that go there, and a lot of people say, you know, in the social media again, you know, Martin Truex should go there, somebody should find him a ride. Let me explain something. He's Monster Cup Energy champion. He's not going to the Turkey Derby. Trust me. NASCAR is going to keep him busy over the next few years, a few weeks, I should say, up to and leading to the banquet. As a champion, there are things that have to be done now. There's video. They go to the shop. They do all kinds of things because their banquet is in like 3 weeks. So when that happens, they're kind of tied up. So I don't expect to see Martin Truex racing at the Turkey Derby. I wouldn't be surprised if he attended briefly on one of the days. But understand the top 3 series scheduling. They don't just show up in Daytona and go racing. They have some time, yes, to have some personal time. And in a conversation that I had with Matt Kenseth at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway a couple of years ago, I said, "What do you do in your off season?" And he laughed. He goes, "What off season?" He goes, "Yeah, we get a couple of weeks. We spend some family time. Then there's appearances, sponsor stuff, meetings, testing, more testing, getting ready, banquets." He goes, there's no break in the action. There's a lot of stuff going on between now and Daytona. And with Daytona, they have the shootout, you know, the non-points race the week before. Then there's like a whole entire week for practice and qualifying. You got the duels. It's a busy, busy time. So when you look at that, there's some stuff that has to be done that I'm not thinking Martin Truex Jr. is going to be free to just do whatever he wants to do. And anyway, looking forward, and we have a couple of scheduled guests coming up over the next couple of weeks. And I'd like to say that we have Dave Sapienza, the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour competitor out of Long Island, is scheduled to appear next Monday. And as he put it to me, he goes, yeah, I want to come and I want to talk about my win at the Turkey Derby. So we're looking forward to Dave stopping by to talk racing with us. And we also have Sal Liccardi Jr. scheduled the following Monday, December 4th. Sal was on our show via the telephone while his dad, Sal Sr., a staunch modified competitor at the Iceworth Speedway on Long Island years ago. We spoke to his dad, and his dad his health was failing, and we just thought here that, you know, let's call the guy up and talk. Let's cheer him up on the air. And he ended his conversation with, "Thanks for remembering us old guys." And he cried. And you know what? I'm telling you, if you looked at this guy, you didn't think he had tear ducts. And it meant that much to him that he was recognized. And that's part of the reason why I do the Where Are They Now? And I know some of the guys we've talked about have passed on, but you know what? They built this sport. They made it. They were the foundation. And as you know, if anybody's in construction, if you don't have a good foundation, you're not holding up the wall. So it'll be good to see Sal, and he'll talk about his career. We'll talk about his dad's career. And it's all going to be a good time. And I want to wish everybody here a happy Thanksgiving this upcoming week, this Thursday. Thanksgiving is a time for us to be thankful for what we have and our family, our friends. And I always tell people that they say they have nothing. I said, you know, if you have a roof over your head and somebody that cares about you, you got it all. And that old movie with Jimmy Stewart and Donna Reed, It's a Wonderful Life. And if you ever watched that movie, the guy struggled his whole life, struggled and struggled and struggled, and it looked like he was going to jail. And all his friends came and paid money so that he didn't go. And the movie ends, not that I'm going to ruin the ending, and the movie's like 70 years old, and I'm sure we've seen it. His brother, who flew in from the war, you know, did a toast, and he said, "To my brother George, the richest man in town." That's what Thanksgiving is all about. It's about your family, your friends, and the people you care about. And yeah, it's a little break in our race season, but it's that time of year. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and I hope everybody is safe and careful. And more now than anything, as our holiday season comes up, give somebody a hug, tell them you love them, and God bless you all. Thanks for watching. Good night, everybody.
Inravio.com. Inravio.